Hey guys, welcome to Seen and Heard. My name's Madeline, Rosene, and I created this podcast so I could talk to really interesting, creative people and have really deep, cool conversations with them. Today I'm here with Kassidy Taylor, fashion stylist extraordinaire. She's based in Los Angeles, and we actually met at an event, a fashion event.
We did meet at a fashion event.
H. Lorenzo?
I think so.
Right?
It was the night with the Rolls Royce,
yes,
right?
people were taking pictures at a Rolls Royce.
Yes.
In a Rolls Royce.
And I was encouraging them into the Rolls Royce to look fabulous.
And I was like, you're just the kind of person I want to hang out with. So yeah, that was great. It was a very typical Los Angeles evening.
Very.
I love that.
Definitely.
So you are a fashion stylist and you have both celebrity clients and non-celebrity clients.
Yeah.
You do both personal styling. You do, I guess, editorial styling.
Yeah.
Commercial styling.
Yeah.
Very
all
cool.
of it.
All of it. Amazing.
Yeah.
And you went to fashion school.
I did, yes.
Very
I went
cool.
to LAM in New York, Laboratory Institute of Merchandising. A lot of people don't know about it. They're like, oh, you didn't go to FIT?
Right.
But that's the alternative version of FIT, basically. It's just a little bit more business focused than FIT and Parsons, where it's more design.
Right. And I went to Parsons, and it's also very just like arty. And I actually went to Parsons for like more of a kind of philosophical kind of theory.
Oh, wow.
Master's program that they have called Fashion Studies. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
I haven't, but that's
it's
so
like
cool.
kind of the history of design and theory of design, which is super random. I don't think anybody knows about this program.
I would love that, though, being like a fashion nerd and looking back at archival runways and stuff.
Oh,
Like, I would
100%.
absolutely love a class like that.
Oh my God. It was so fun. I
Yeah.
thought I wanted to be like a curator for a while.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love styling and I have like a special place in my heart for it because when I first moved to Los Angeles, I worked for a fashion magazine and I got to style a lot of the shoots as their editor.
So cool. Which one? I didn't know
It's called Le Fair magazine and a friend of mine started it. It's very beautiful. I'll have to show it to you.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah. So, I guess I want to know about your journey. And so you grew up in Philly though.
I did. I grew up in Philly.
And how were you introduced to fashion there?
I really wasn't there, actually. It's kind of an interesting story. So I was a ballerina most of my life, and I was planning on being a ballerina forever, dancing in the New York City Ballet, all of that. And then I got a really bad knee injury.
Oh no.
So that was pretty devastating. I pretty much either was going to have to get a lot of brutal surgeries or I was going to have to stop dancing.
Right.
And it kind of got to a point where I was like 16 years old and I'm like, what am I going to do with my life? Am I really going to suffer through all this surgery and actually make it as a ballerina and like recover from all of this? Or should I be a little bit more realistic at this point?
Wow.
And so that's kind of what I chose. Went through a little bit of a dark time getting out of that because it was just a total life change, you know? And then I actually moved to Tennessee for a second.
Okay.
Don't know why. I don't know what drew me there.
Nashville or?
Outside of Nashville.
Okay.
So not even the main city, like an hour from Nashville.
Cool.
So truly the middle of nowhere.
Love it.
Did not belong instantly. I was like, why am I here? This is not my vibe. I don't even like country music.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I don't know. We're very like get an idea in our head and do it kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that doesn't always go the way we went.
Yes.
Yeah. So I lasted there for about a week. I went there for nutrition.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a nutritionist for ballerinas.
Oh,
just
cool.
to kind of still tie into that world.
Mm-hmm.
Started that for a second and I was like, I don't know any math or science. This is not my thing. Like, why did I choose this path? So I packed up my car without telling anybody in my family and drove all the way back to Philly, like 16 hours or however long it is. Showed up at my mom's house and I'm like, I'm back and I have no idea what I want to do with my life. And I got my retail job back at Free People.
Nice.
I was working there in high school. And my store manager one day, I was just chatting with her, telling her I didn't know what direction I wanted to go. I was feeling a little lost. And she had a cousin that went to LAM.
Nice.
So she said, why don't you go up and visit the cousin? He'll tour you around the school and you can just kind of see what you think.
Nice.
Because I was interested in fashion, but it wasn't like my passion.
Right.
So I went up there, absolutely fell in love, applied to school, got in a week before school started.
Wow.
I went to the city with my mom about a week before school started, right after I got in to look for an apartment.
Where'd you live?
my first apartment was right by Gramercy Park.
Okay, great.
Which felt
wow.
so
oh my
luxurious.
gosh, that is so luxurious.
Yeah, the apartment was not, but the location was.
Yeah.
I felt fabulous living next to Gramercy.
Yeah.
But the actual apartment, I was living with like 4 girls in a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
very typical.
Totally.
But I found the apartment because my mom and I went to a pickle store and we'd given up hope. We had looked all day. And a guy in line overheard us talking about needing a place. And he said his girlfriend needed a roommate. And that's how I got my first apartment in New York.
That's insane and so cool.
Insane. And I love pickles. So it was just kind of like fate, you know?
Yeah, that's an incredible moment.
Yeah. So it all happened really fast. School happening fast, the apartment, everything. And I just kind of got thrown into it. Had no idea I wanted to do styling. Had no idea how to do anything. I just kind of knew that I loved clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
So while you were at LIM, is that when you started like realizing, okay, this is the because there's a lot of things you can do in fashion, right? You could go into merchandising, you could go I mean there's a lot of things you can do, right?
Yeah.
But how did you decide on styling as a career? Was it there that you decided that?
It was. So I met this girl who was a senior when I was a freshman, and we just became super close. She was the president of the styling club.
Nice.
So she started showing me a lot of what she does, and she was organizing the school fashion show and putting all the looks together, and I just like absolutely fell in love with it. I was like, this is so cool. I think this is what I want to do. And then as she graduated, she passed styling club to me.
Oh, neat.
And so as a freshman, which is pretty rare to get handed something like that.
Definitely.
I ended up running all of the fashion shows for like the 2.5 years I went until I dropped out ultimately to do styling.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I also dropped out of Parsons because I got my job with the magazine, and I was like, well, I got my job that I wanted.
Working. Why am I wasting all this money at school?
100%. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times school is just so great for networking, you know?
That's really what it was. And I had also met a fashion blogger who was a senior. So she became a mentor, interned for her for about a year. She taught me how to pull clothes, how to put shoots together, like everything of like the bare minimum that you need to know basically is what I learned from her.
Right.
So it was kind of like assisting a stylist, but it wasn't just solely focused on styling. I was helping her with her blog and taking photos and kind of all of it.
Wow.
But through her, I met a photographer. She was supposed to style a shoot, and she couldn't make it.
Oh, wow.
So she said, would you want to style this shoot? Turned out to be this giant Broadway playbill shoot.
Gosh.
And here I am, 18, lying to everyone, telling them I'm older, telling them I absolutely know what I'm doing when I have no idea what I'm doing. And I ended up having a Times Square playbill billboard when I was 18.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did that pay well?
Not at all. Not at all. It never does.
So that's an example of like a commercial shoot, right?
Commercial is what pays well.
Right. Okay. So that's an editorial?
You know, that would actually be a little bit of a gray line.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's hard to define that.
Yeah, because it's technically advertising.
Yeah.
But it's also an editorial in a way, but it's not in a magazine, but it's an image. I don't know what you would call that, to be honest.
So I think it's still kind of commercial, right? But it's like if it's, you know, for a billboard, right? And maybe just specific to Broadway, right? Then maybe it doesn't pay as well because it's like, okay, it's very localized, right? In that region.
You would think Broadway would have money, though.
You would think that.
So you have me a little stumped there.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
All right.
But still super cool nonetheless.
What is your favorite kind of shoot to do?
My favorite kind is probably not even a shoot. I do love editorial. I love the creativity. I love that it's things that you're most likely putting on someone that would never translate to real life. It's pure art, which I think is so magical. Mm-hmm. And I do like get off on creating images like that almost are like inspiration for future shoots. Yeah. Because they're just so unique. But I think I feel a lot more passionate about people's confidence when I do personal styling. Oh, yeah. Which is kind of a rare pick. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people would say like editorial or celebrity and all of that. But personal styling, when you like nail it, and you see somebody wearing something and they just feel so good and you just know what you've done for them, I don't think there's anything more magical than that.
It's a really good feeling.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about posting it. You don't have to worry about getting likes, getting attention. Like, it's not for anything just other than to make that person feel so good.
Yeah. And do you have a lot of personal styling clients?
I wouldn't say a lot. I'm definitely working on building, and I do personal styling with celebrity clients as well. Nice. That's just kind of the stuff that you don't really see as much. Right. But I don't need that to be shared. You know what I mean? Yeah. So 100%. I definitely want to build more of that. And I think ideally it would be nice to have celebrity clients where I am getting the publicity and the attention to build my career and build my book. But I also have personal clients that I simply just get to go have fun with, and I don't need anyone to know about it.
That's
you
so
know?
fun. Do you usually take them with you when you guys go shopping, or is it more like you do the shopping and you bring it to them?
It really depends. I've had both situations. I've had like this boy group duo. They're brothers from Australia that I styled before.
Fun.
We were doing a music video, and then we ended up doing some personal stuff as well because they were like, I don't know how to get dressed.
Right.
And I just need help. So we ended up spending a whole day going thrifting, and that was like so much fun. We did a little bit of regular retail too.
That
but
is so fun.
Yeah, digging for stuff with clients and like making it just that personal and like an actual activity. It's like really, really magical, as opposed to just being like, here's the clothes, try them on, whatever, you know?
And I think a lot of times people, they like to do that themselves, right? Like dig around at a thrift store or something, but they might, put something together and not feel confident or not know if they did a good job.
Yeah.
And like you're there to be like, oh, no, or yes.
Absolutely.
Right? Or I found this. Let's put that with what you found.
Yeah.
And, kind of like, it's very collaborative, it sounds like.
100%. And that's what I'm more about. I don't have like any ego about what I do. I just genuinely want to work with the person I'm working with and make them feel their best.
That's
whatever
awesome.
it is, whether it's a celebrity or not,
Yeah. Well, make everybody feel like a celebrity, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah.
Love that. Okay, so you had like kind of a big break recently though, right?
I sure did.
Like maybe like 3 months ago?
A little bit less than that, maybe
Okay.
2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So I just recently started working with Christina Ricci.
nice.
She's probably she is one of my favorite actresses of all time.
Amazing.
My first favorite movie was Mermaids.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, with Cher and Winona,
Yeah.
who are two of my other favorites of all time. I'm such a 90s actress girl
Yeah.
that working with somebody that's that iconic from that era, I don't know if anything will top that.
Gosh,
I really don't.
It's so cool to like work with like kind of a hero of yours in a way.
I wouldn't even, I don't even know if it's like a hero or just what you would call it, but she's such an amazing person. And when you meet someone that you've admired for so long and they're so real and you just click and there's nothing celebrity or anything about it, you just feel like you're just with a friend. That's so rare, especially with somebody that big.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's been, I'm getting like chills talking about it because it's just been really, really magical to be able to do that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess I want to know more about I guess just when you got to LA, right? And you started building out here, like building your clients, and did you start to make sort of connections with photographers or like production studios, or how did you start getting work in editorial, commercial, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So that kind of started with retail. I was working retail for about 8 years before styling.
Nice.
When I moved to LA, I moved with the company that I had worked with in New York, Aritzia.
Mm-hmm.
I moved here to help them open their Century City location. So I was there. I was there for a little while, and then I got tired of working there because it had been like 4 years between both cities. Ended up moving to 2 other companies within the next like 2-year period. And throughout all of that, when I moved to LA, I didn't know anybody.
Wow. Yeah.
So as much experience as I had gotten in New York, when I moved here, it was like starting over.
Yes.
I didn't
Fresh.
know anybody. I didn't have any connections.
Showrooms.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I didn't even know what a showroom was,
Right.
really.
Actually, we should explain that because a lot of people watching this probably don't even know what a showroom is.
Oh, yeah. So a showroom is basically like it's a PR, I don't know what you call it, company.
Yeah, it's usually run by a PR company, right?
Yeah.
And then the PR company is paid to basically house
Brands.
accessories, brands,
Yeah.
whether it's accessories or clothing, clothing
It's really
lines.
for brand exposure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then stylists and influencers usually too can go in and pick out.
It's called pulling.
Pulling clothes and accessories for photo shoots.
Yeah.
And you have to have some kind of letter usually from whatever company you're working for the shoot. This person is credible, they're working for the shoot, and they can basically pull clothes on our behalf, and we'll be responsible for them.
And it's all about brand placement on a celebrity, or basically just getting exposure for the brand so that they can ultimately have people hopefully purchase their clothes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Or accessories or whatever it is.
I didn't know what a showroom was until I moved to LA too. And then when I was just kind of thrust into doing editorials for the magazine, luckily I had assisted a major celebrity stylist here one time. It was a Craigslist random thing.
Wow.
Sorry, tangent, but it will tie in.
No, I love that.
And I assisted her one time. I'm like, I'm never doing this again, because I won't say who it was, but she treated me terribly. And
unfortunately, I've been through a lot of that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, styling is competitive
Yeah.
and can be like kind of catty and really intense.
Very.
But the great thing that came from that was that I learned about all these showrooms all over Los Angeles. And I was like, this is basically a gold mine. I can be a stylist now because I have all these connections. I charmed all the girls that worked at the showrooms. I was like, we're besties now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know. Was it like that for you?
That's definitely... So what you said about charming them is so important because it really is all about relationships. And again, when I got here, I didn't have any.
Yeah.
So until I started building those, that's when I finally got somewhere.
Yeah.
So through my kind of like confidence in retail, being willing to talk to these stylists that were coming in and pulling, that's kind of how I first got my foot in the door.
Nice.
And I would say, hey, I'm working retail, but I also have styling experience. I'm very interested in getting more involved. If you ever need an assistant, call me.
Nice.
And that's kind of what I would do. And sometimes it would hit, sometimes it wouldn't. And then one day this man came in who was a stylist to one of my old stores. And I said, I hope this isn't creepy, but I saw your, profile like page hanging on the bulletin board in the back. And I think we're actually neighbors.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah. And it turned out he literally lived one building apart. So it was like my building, another one, and then his building.
That's so funny.
So it kind of seemed like fate.
Yeah.
Which again ties back to like me getting into styling in the first place. It all kind of has always felt like fate to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I connected with him. He said, come over and have tea, which I thought was the chicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
That's adorable. I love it.
Not even a drink or coffee. Let's have tea.
Yeah.
So I went, and the rest was history. I ended up quitting retail a few months later. I worked for him on all my days off for a few months.
Wow.
Quit retail about 5 months later to work for him full time. And that lasted about a year. And it was great until it wasn't.
Right.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And then after that, I felt very nervous, and I felt I was starting over again.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where to go, but I had a few connections to people at this point who I felt I could go to and say, hey, what's your advice? What do you think I should do?
Nice.
And basically what I decided was to wipe my tears and build my website. Took about 2 weeks to build my website. And then I just started emailing every single stylist I could find in LA. Everyone.
Brilliant.
I had this psychotic spreadsheet of like their Instagrams, who they style, their emails, everything.
I love this.
Hundreds of stylists. Believe it or not, there's that many here.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I emailed all of them with my resume, my website, everything. And probably within about a month, I had full-time freelance work again.
Wow.
And that lasted for 2 years. I was freelance for 2 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tenacity, and that's just like
You
passion.
just can't give up. Yeah. That's if I'll give any advice about styling, it's just like acting or music or anything in this city, you cannot give up.
Yes.
Because you'll be told no so many times. Projects will fall through so many times that you're so excited about, and then last minute they don't happen.
Yeah.
People won't pay you. You'll be just so disappointed so many times, but there's a few times that'll be worth it. And meeting Christina and working with her ultimately now, that is one of those moments where I'm like, all of this suffering, retail, being told no, like all of the struggle, having no money, all of that feels worth it when something like that happens.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. What about styling horror stories on set? Do you have one where it was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, something's gone completely awry, you weren't prepared for it, something like that?
I don't know if I have just one.
Yeah, right. I know
there's been so many. Honestly, being on set I love it and I hate it because it's so unpredictable.
Oh yeah.
But I always say, like, I could never work like a desk job because I can't do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
But some days you're like, God, I just wish I could do the same thing every day, because what the hell is my life right now?
Yeah.
It's just so different every day. And being on set too, like sometimes you're at someone's house and you're nice and cozy, or sometimes you're on top of a mountain in Malibu and it's pitch black and the photographer can't find his camera.
Oh goodness.
So
has that happened?
Oh yeah. I've had that happen. I've had zippers and fabric rip and pop off right before somebody's about to go out for their big moment. I think one of the weirdest experiences I had was when a musical artist decided last minute that they wanted gender neutral character, like bodies, like human bodies in their music video. So I had to cut pantyhose and basically turn men genderless.
Oh, wow.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So there was a whole lot of tucking and layering and cutting.
That's
that
a lot.
was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, yeah, you just never know. I've never had anything though, like life-threatening or anything.
That's
like
good.
that.
Right. Sure. That's really good.
Except I did almost get hypothermia once.
Oh gosh, there are some cold sets.
Cold sets.
Yeah.
Basically, this guy was flirting with a casting director or somebody on set. I don't know who it was. And decided to do that instead of negotiating the hours for the location.
Oh my.
So halfway through this big brand shoot, we got kicked out of location and had to work out of a parking lot in like, this was in the winter. So it was like 40 degrees at the time.
Oh my gosh.
It was brutal.
That's
We're
insanity.
like organizing clothes with candles and flashlights. That was a wild one.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Most of the bad things that have happened to me are like people gave me their sizes wrong.
Oh, that's
a bad one.
That's a really bad one.
Yeah. Or
I don't know how I didn't think of that first, actually.
one of my very first shoots, I lost like a really expensive necklace.
Also a horror story.
Like, I'm not sure. I still think somebody might have walked off with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sucked.
I've never had that happen, which is probably why I didn't think of it. I've never lost anything, but I've worked with others that have.
Yeah.
One of my really good friends, actually, that happened to her recently, and she has quite a hefty bill she's paying.
Oh,
and it's heart-wrenching.
Because when it's your fault, or you feel like it's your fault because you're not sure if somebody stole it, right, or whatever. I mean, even if somebody did steal it, like, you're responsible for it, right?
You're responsible.
Yeah.
And that's like a huge thing. That's honestly a big part of styling that people don't talk about is the amount of responsibility you have.
Responsibility. And it's so much preparation.
So
People
much.
don't talk about that either.
So much.
It's like, yeah, the photographer has to prep and everything, right? And I don't want to belittle photographers because they do a lot.
Of course.
And they're like in charge of the shoot.
It doesn't take weeks.
Exactly.
Typically.
Yes. Like for styling, it's like weeks, like sometimes you're ordering the clothes, right? From the brands. Sometimes, you're just doing research, right? Making and helping with the mood board and everything. And then you actually have to go and schlep around to the different showrooms to pick all this stuff up.
Absolutely.
And then you're not even done after the shoot. Everybody else is done after the shoot.
And you have to do all your returns.
You're not done. Yeah, exactly. That's the worst
part. And pack
part.
for like 3 times as long as everybody else.
Oh, God, yeah.
I know. No, it's a lot. And people definitely don't talk about how gruesome it is. It's not glamorous.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
There's nothing glamorous about it.
Yeah.
The final image or whatever it is, performance, whatever it is so worth it. Usually when you see the look, you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, was that really worth 2 weeks of my life? Styling makes you feel insane sometimes.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
So now that you have a big celebrity client, how easy would it be to have another, for instance? Or is it usually like people have like one celebrity client that they're very loyal to and, because it's a lot of work, right?
It is, yeah.
So do you think you'd have another, or is it usually like you're just like pretty loyal to that person?
I would love to have another.
Okay.
I would love to have as many as I can.
Yeah.
No, but I'm a big advocate. I think a lot of stylists I see take on way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to a point where I'm not really seeing them as involved.
Right.
And this is experience from assisting so many people in this city. There's only so much room for involvement, and there's only so many hours in a day. So when you're taking on so many clients and you have to be this place and that place, and this one's in this city and this one's doing this and this one's early in the morning and late at night, like it's just too much. So I definitely myself never want to get to a point where I can't have my hands on everything I'm creating.
Yes.
I don't want to have assistants picking stuff out for me. I don't want to have other people calling the shots. Like I really want to have my hands on all of the projects I take on because it's my art.
Right.
And ultimately I was chosen for a reason to work with this person. So I don't want to give somebody else I want to be respectful of that too.
Right.
And be like, hey, you chose me and you decided to give me your trust. So let me give you my time and really be there and really make sure that it's a collaborative vision between me and the person who hired me.
That's so important.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you have so much knowledge from assisting first,
So much.
And do you think, it's like in any art, right? There's no one way to get to where you want to go, right?
Not at
It's not
all.
like, you got to go take the LSATs and you had to go to law school and then you're going to become a lawyer. So
there's no formula.
no formula.
No.
Do you think there's any way people just become stylists? without assisting.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
But it's pure luck, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's how it was for me, because I literally only assisted like maybe twice.
It's pure luck. It's you know someone and you're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
It's you're this person's cousin.
Yeah.
You know, especially people from LA. They have an advantage compared to me because I'm a little small town girl from outside of Philly.
Right.
I don't know anybody when I come here and start trying to do this. So I will say, since you wanted me to have a bragging moment,
yes,
I'm very impressed with myself that I've made it to where I am completely alone.
Yeah.
I've had no manager, no agent. I've definitely had supportive stylist and friends and boyfriend along the way help me get to where I am by encouraging me. But all of the emailing stylist, all of the getting jobs, all of the getting clients, all the actual literal work into each project, like no one does that for me.
Yeah, that's all.
So I will say I'm impressed with myself in like that regard.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you think now you'll probably get like an agent, something like that? I mean, do you want to be represented by an agency?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't know. I've thought about that.
I mean, it seems like you obviously have the chops for it. Like,
it's not so much about that. I think having an agent would be really beneficial as far as getting more work, because that's really what they're there for. They're there to kind of bridge the gap between you and the publicists that are working with these celebrities that you want to get to.
Oh yeah, wait, pause 1 second. I just realized a lot of people probably don't really even know that like stylists have agents, makeup artists have agents.
Oh yeah,
hair
I guess
artists
people don't really know
have
that,
agents. Yeah, well, unless you're in the industry, like you might not.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like people mostly think of agents as like, oh, an actor or a celebrity, they have an agent, right? Or a musician.
It's the same thing, really.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's these celebrity stylists who are like literally they're celebrities because they are celebrity stylists.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which I hate that attitude.
Oh, me too. I've met a lot of them.
I really do. I have a very strong opinion of like, just because you dress famous people doesn't mean you're famous.
Yeah.
And even for me, like, I never want to be famous. I don't need to be known anywhere except in the industry and trusted by my clients.
I love that.
You know, like I don't need to have a TV show one day,
Yeah.
or I want to maybe have my own line one day.
Oh,
I think
hell
that would
yeah.
be really cool.
Yes.
Not that I know how to design at all other than just my instinct.
Hey.
But I think that'd be really cool. But I don't care to be famous, and I hate that mentality so much.
Well, you clearly just love what you do, you know, and that's so refreshing. And I'm sure that it comes through in your work, you know, it does.
I do believe that's why I'm able to get access to certain people, because of how genuine I am about it. I don't have an ego about it. I don't like to talk about it. I was even telling you earlier, I don't introduce myself as a celebrity stylist.
Right.
Because I don't just do that. And that's not what I don't want to be labeled.
Right.
I just want to be a creative. And I even say that to people all the time. Like, if you do anything creative, you can do anything else creative.
Yes.
I also paint. I also help my boyfriend write songs.
Yeah.
So it's not just styling as my creative outlet. It's just one of them.
Yeah,
that's
really cool, and it makes so much sense
to
me. Yeah. And that's why I love doing this podcast, because it's like I find out so much more about people, because it's like, you know, I think they're one thing because that's how they've presented to me, right? But then I find out that they're so much more multifaceted, so much more multi-talented, because that's how creatives are. It
really is, and that's the coolest part about it. So that's why I don't care if anyone ever knows. You know, as long as I'm just creating and having fun, that's all I care about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, 2 more things. One is, let's get some like general outfit advice from you. Like, what's your favorite fashion trend going on right now? What would you recommend? Like, how can people look cool right now? That was the most general question ever.
I was going to say, that is such a loaded question. There's so many answers to that.
I know.
There's of course always, like, every season, right, there's key pieces. So this season there's like ballet flats are back, and micro shorts are a thing, and all of that, which of course is just coming back around.
Do you love the ballet flat thing as a ballerina?
I love it and I hate it.
Got it.
I love it because it's so cute and it looks so much fun in like a look, and it just adds like a girly touch to everything. But I'm also super triggered by it because I did point for so many years that just my feet hurt. Look, like these Gucci flats I just had in the office the other day. They're beautiful and they're like a piece of art, but putting them actually on my feet was so triggering.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, oh my God, I feel all the blisters and the pain and all of it. Like, it's traumatizing.
Yes.
Yeah. But I do love them. But I think it's cool to have an eye on all of that, especially as a stylist. You really have to, like, what's in, what's out kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think what I've noticed over the last few years, especially in a place like LA and probably New York too, is trends are not like that anymore. It's not like, oh, burgundy's in. It's more of a lifestyle at this point.
Yeah.
So Brat Summer, for example, is such a good example. That was not only a fashion trend, that was a life trend.
Yes.
And people, including myself, took that so deeply, and it really influenced how I dressed all summer. I can't tell you how many times I said the word brat this summer.
That's hilarious.
And I'm sure a lot of people can relate, you know, but
Yeah.
it's like, I think it's really cool that there's things like that that are trends now, more so than just a piece of clothing or a color.
Yes.
It's a literal attitude
Yes.
as a trend. And I
Oh.
think that's really, really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it really like it makes things more like all encompassing. It's not just about like one item, like, oh, you better have this in your closet. It's more just like, what can you put together that's gonna
emulate this attitude, and that's why I love Brat, for example, so much, because it's all about confidence.
Yes.
So it's almost like confidence is the trend versus a piece of clothing or a color or whatever it is, which I think is like way cooler.
Very well said.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. And then the last thing is like, what kind of advice would you give to someone, or, you know, even to your like young self, but, you know, somebody who wants to get into styling, right? And have that as their career. Like, what advice would you give them?
Also kind of a loaded question.
Especially if they were like maybe coming to LA for the first time, or a new market like New York or something.
I think definitely I would say to just trust yourself. That's probably the biggest thing. I have never been afraid of myself with like things that I decide I want to do. I say I want to do it and I do it. I say I'm going to Tennessee for absolutely no reason and I'm there. I say I hate it, I'm back. I say I'm moving to LA, I move to LA. So I think just trusting your instincts and just never ever giving up. And that sounds so cliche, but you really do have to hold on to something like that, especially in a city like this, because you're going to get so disappointed so many times. And I've had more pain in my life in LA than I've ever had. And I had a very interesting childhood as well. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't amazing. But coming to LA to follow my dreams has been one of the most like painful things I've ever been through. And I have had so many rough experiences.
Yeah.
But again, getting to points like working with someone like Christina.
Yeah.
It makes all of it worth it.
It's
and
the
like,
highs and the
this is
lows
why
here.
I suffered.
Yes. The highs and the lows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the lows make the highs even better.
They make it all worth it. They really do. And because I trusted myself so much getting to this point, I had a really cool thing happen. Right before I moved to LA, I was at my grandmother's house and I had all this stuff from high school and growing up in her basement. And I was going through all of it to see what I wanted to bring here. And I found this like little scribbled thing from like second grade. And it said, if you had a pot of gold, what would you spend the money on? And I like get chills talking about it. I literally wrote, I would go to fashion school for fashion merchandising. And I never wanted to do fashion in my whole life. So reading that, apparently I did.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
That's really cool. You had no memory of that?
No memory of it.
Wow.
Never had a desire for that growing up when I was doing ballet. And then I found that and I was like, this is crazy because I'm moving to LA to be a stylist.
What divine timing that you found that.
Insane. So I've never forgotten about that. And even on my hardest days, like I just think about that and I'm like, your second grade or whatever year old self wanted this for you and you're actually doing it. So you got this.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're beautiful. Thank you so much, Kassidy.
You're so sweet, of course.
Thank you for being here.
It's been so much fun talking to you.
Oh my God, likewise. So where can people follow you?
Oh, so I have Instagram. It's at Kassidy with a K, Taylor XX. And my website's on there as well, which desperately needs to be updated, but it's there. And you can email me as well. I have my email on my Instagram too.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
And before I forget, I just have a little gift for you.
You're so cute.
Styling tools, essentially.
Oh my goodness.
You know, it's like Hollywood.
Stop.
You know the brand, right?
I sure do. Boob tape.
Yes.
Double stick tape. Oh my God, I love it. What is this? Liquid tape. You are the sweetest. I use all of these on the daily. I'm gonna use these tomorrow.
Yay. Happy life.
You're
oh my gosh.
so sweet. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, I love that so much. Anytime.